All right, so this is a suggestion via a channel member. The name of the video is What They Didn't Teach You About the Civil War. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this immediately. This is coming from the channel Gravel Institute? The Gravel Institute, maybe?
What do you know about the American Civil War? Just saying these words, the Civil War, probably brings some familiar images to mind. Northern soldiers in Union blue marching against Southern troops in Confederate gray. Epic battles at Shiloh and Gettysburg. Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation and the end of slavery. The victory of the Union over the Confederacy. But there's something else you should know about that era. Something that ties these events together and that you probably didn't learn in school. The Civil War was also America's greatest left-wing revolution.
Oh, this is about to piss people off, guys. I love it.
Here's how.
Let's go.
In the early 19th century, African slavery was the foundation of social and economic life in the American South.
Right.
Millions of black workers were owned as property by wealthy planters who denied them education, controlled their family lives, and reaped the fruits of their labor. This system was wildly profitable, and the wealth it produced allowed a tiny elite to dominate Southern and national politics. And before the Civil War, it was expanding all across the Western Hemisphere. In 1860, between the United States, Brazil, and Cuba, there were more enslaved people than ever before. For years, a small group of American abolitionists had denounced slavery as an abomination. These radical activists were scorned by much of society and ignored.
Yeah, guys. The problem is that, they were scorned absolutely up until a certain time frame, right? And then, for the most part, the Republicans basically took on their cause when they realized that we kind of need to kind of buckle down a little bit, and we are absolutely, in fact, being taken advantage of by this tiny, literally tiny minority in the United States of America that owns everything. Okay. Again, this is around the time also where not all men were able to literally vote here, guys. Keep that in mind here. From the years about 1820 to 1850, there was a gigantic push for kind of all white men specifically to be able to vote. And then by 1870, it was included, like black men were included. But specifically, Native Americans were excluded up until 1924 or so. So just understand that it was a very interesting time back in the day, guys. Not everyone could actually vote and actually control the future of the country, basically. Specifically, white men without land or property, right? They couldn't vote.
Slavery is an abomination. These radical activists were scorned by much of society and ignored by both the two mainstream political parties. But in the 1850s, as slaveholders tried to extend slavery across the West, their opponents made a breakthrough. The old two-party system melted down, and the new Republican Party won massive Northern support by opposing slavery's expansion while putting bondage itself on a road to ultimate extinction. The abolitionists broke through, in part, because they named the slave power as the oppressive ruling class that it was. They pointed out that slaveholders were just 1% of the population, but somehow controlled every branch of government. They argued that black bondage was not just morally wrong, but a threat to free labor everywhere.
Yeah, that was the real issue. All right, like I understand there were some absolute bleeding hearts out there that were trying to kind of do what's best for the sake of humanity, but what was really happening is that slavery in itself was damaging other people trying to start businesses and kind of, claw their way up in society, basically, right? So if you have free labor in the South and I have to pay someone for this, basically the same thing that's kind of going on currently with the United States of America and China, basically the same exact thing. You have the super cheap, almost like nothing type of labor costs, and you're able to undercut everyone to kind of reach this level. And that's literally what's happening right now with China and the United States of America.
Black bondage was not just morally wrong, but a threat to free labor everywhere. The struggle between anti-slavery and slavery, said Abraham Lincoln, was part of the eternal struggle between the common right of humanity and the divine right of kings. The same spirit that says, you toil and work and earn bread and I'll eat it. It was the common worker, black or white, against the rich.
Yeah.
These populist assaults on the ruling class helped Lincoln's party win the election of 1860. Contemporaries called it a political revolution.
Good old Abraham Africanus.
Slaveholders was so serious that they formed their own separate republic, the Confederate States of America. In the Civil War that followed, the stakes were clear. The Union fought against human bondage, for a democratic majority, and for the dignity of all labor. The Confederacy
Labor.
fought to preserve bondage and elite rule. Confederates fought, as Lincoln told Congress in 1862, to put capital, that's wealth measured in human beings, above labor in the structure of government. Enslaved laborers understood these stakes. Hundreds of thousands fled to Union lines even before emancipation was proclaimed.
Absolutely.
Radical abolitionists knew it too. Frederick Douglass barnstormed the country, rousing black men to enlist in the Union Army. By war's end, around 200,000 black soldiers and sailors had taken up arms to crush the rebellion. The cause of the Union was the cause of the international left. While conservative aristocrats and capitalists in Europe sympathized with the Confederacy, radicals and labor organizations supported the Union. In 1864, a German journalist named Karl Marx declared that the American anti-slavery war would launch a new era of ascendancy for the working class. Emancipation, as Marx understood, was not a middle-class reform project. It was a true social revolution. Only in the United States and in Haiti was emancipation sudden, uncompensated, and enforced by former slaves themselves. That revolution remains incomplete. After the war, former slaves and radical Republicans were defeated
was going crazy
by what
at
the
this
scholar
time.
W.E.B. Du Bois calls a counter-revolution of property, led by former slaveholders and conservative businessmen. Under the terror of Jim Crow segregation, many of the Civil War's victories for labor and for democracy were rolled back, but not all. The destruction of American chattel slavery was a historic and enduring victory. It meant that black Southerners were able to create the schools and the churches that seeded their later fight against Jim Crow. It radically expanded American democracy and made the modern labor and civil rights movements possible. The Civil War was America's greatest left-wing revolution. Even now, its work remains unfinished. But every left-wing struggle, for the rule of democratic majorities, for the rights of labor over property, and for meaningful freedom and equality, can claim its legacy. I'm
I see what you're doing here, bro.
Matt Karp, Associate Professor of History at Princeton University for the Gravel Institute.
All right, guys, Gravel. Okay. So he's purposely saying left wing, right wing, instead of just blatantly saying Democrats or Republicans. I understand why you're saying that, though. I get it. I see why because you don't want to make the Democrats look terrible by pointing out the fact that they were the ones fighting for slavery. Or the ones who basically were responsible in Tennessee for starting the KKK, right? Or I get it. You don't want to do that, but if you want to be intellectually honest in this context, we should kind of give all the context, not just pick and choose which parts sound, beautiful for the 2025. Get what I mean here, bro? But either way, solid. I mean, listen, I love speaking about history. I'm absolutely obsessed with anything history, science, space, oriented. I love it. Now, let's talk about history more often, guys. Okay, let's fill in the blanks if there are any blanks to be filled in here, guys. All right. But all right, listen, guys. You guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day.